a mind you can't control. Running wild, can't calm down. My head is in the clouds. Gotta keep this feeling, keep on breathing, even if we're slipping away. So I close my eyes and lose myself now. Do it like it's only today. We gotta party for a lifetime. No, we ain't stopping for the sunrise. No, we don't care about the bad nights. For a second I can feel like this. Make me feel like this. We gotta party for a lifetime. No, we ain't stopping for the sunrise. No, we don't care about the bad nights. For a second I can feel like this. Make me feel like this. I'm on my last straw. I'm broken and I'm woken up. I'm done feeding your lies. I've had enough. I can't run your place in this faulty game. And all the words you speak mean nothing more to me. 'Cause I'd start over now. Rewind, and I won't let you go. I need you by my side.
Let's take it slow. Where you go, I go too. And if you hit the bottom, I'm going down with you. Let's take it slow. Who cares where we gotta be? You know you'll have a good time wherever you're with me. Let's take it slow. got here. 'Cause you don't know how. You say we're taking on water, yeah, we're sinking now. You're looking all concerned, like we're gonna drown. But we both know how to swim, no worries as we'll fall now. Let's take it slow, where you go, I go too. And if you hit the bottom, I'm going down with you. Let's take it slow, who cares where we gotta be? You know you'll have a good time wherever you're with me. Let's take it slow. I drag you out your mind, and there are days I hate you, but baby, you're still mine. And now we have the best times, no matter what we do. And even when we don't, there's nobody I'd rather choose. Let's take it slow, where you go, I go too. And if you hit the bottom, I'm going down with you. Let's take it slow. Slow, who cares where we gotta be? You know you'll have a good time wherever you're with me. Let's take it slow, where you go, I go too. And if you hit the bottom, I'm going down with you. Let's take it slow, who cares where we gotta be? You know you'll have a good time wherever you're with me.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Hope you are well out there in YouTube land. Today is August 4th, 2024, 11:32 p.m. on the East Coast of the United States. Thank you all so much for joining me. Really do appreciate you. As you can see, my camera's not as clear, my lighting's not as good, and I'm in a different area right now. So I'm on the road right now, and I think everyone is finally asleep. So you'll have to pardon me with all of that. Really do appreciate your time. You guys are amazing as always. All right. First off, I need to thank Forget Me Not. Forget Me Not, thank you so much for your support. Really do appreciate that. You are very, very sweet, my friend. Thank you so much. Lots of glare on my glasses and stuff. So thank you guys very much. You are remote. You are remote. Yes. Okay. I was gonna have this. I was gonna say something, but I can't remember what I was gonna say. Oh yeah, can you guys hear me okay? I'm guessing so. I don't have any of my usual mics. I'm literally working through my laptop right now. So I'm in DC right now, Tracy Lynn. So yeah, just outside of DC right now. Justin, I don't just stay up for anybody. Oh, that's very sweet. Thank you. Thank you. We've got a really good live, I think, planned here. Forget Me Not. We need to just you know, get on down the track. Let's do it.
This is a Brooklyn-bound 2 express train. The next stop is Fulton Street.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Beep beep, mother chickens.
My body aches to be satisfied. My weakness comes and goes. My weakness comes and goes.
All right. Thank you so very much, my dear, for gifting those 5 pearl necklaces. You received one of those pearl necklaces. Please thank our beloved Forget Me Not, and your application is approved. Congratulations. All right. Roxy Stone, honey, don't you worry about it, honey. Prayers to you right now. Just praying for you and everything you're going through. Don't you worry about it. Listen, I understand. It's really hard times for a lot of people, and you know, my members and the people who are able to, they get me through, and I am so appreciative to each one of them, and I appreciate you just being here. So thank you for being here. Really do appreciate it. Okay, so let's talk. We're going to continue with Sebastian Rogers. Now, you know, I was thinking we're going to play some parts of the witness box. And if you don't know the witness box yet, you are doing yourself a disservice. The witness box is with obviously our friends Josh from the lab and Chris McDonough and Dr. Gary. And they are 3 amazing minds, truly amazing minds. And the last few days, people's been saying, Justin, please review the witness box. And so I always like to, you know, let them, the first few days or so, just let them, you know, get their views and all of that. And I thought I could do at least some of it tonight. You have give is the link, Justin. What's that, R. Taylor? I'm sorry. That's right, Seymour. That's good. So what was I going to say? I forgot. Thank you so much, YouTuber, my dear. Really do appreciate you gifting that pearl necklace. Thank you, love. Oh. Of course. Yes. Now the witness box is going through, I want to say it's on the lab now. So if you're subbed up to the lab, it's right on the lab now. It's under videos. So if you're subbed up to the lab, you're already there. Link is in the description. You can also find it wherever podcasts are. I dropped the link there in chat for you guys. Okay. Thank you again, YouTuber, so much for gifting that pearl necklace. Really do appreciate that. If you receive that, please thank our beloved YouTuber. Okay, without further ado, oh, okay. So what I was going to say is actually, I was thinking about something that, sorry guys, I'm not in my normal, so you'll have to bear with me a little bit here. I was thinking about one thing that Chris said the other day. Oh, membership link? I don't have it. Um, if you're on a Android type phone, all you do is just hit the dollar sign right there on the side, and it should take you right there when it says memberships. Um, kind of doing it fancy today. um, I'm literally have my mouse on a sofa right now, so you're welcome. Yeah, I know, and they've not been giving notifications really well. I don't know what it is. So, yeah, of course, Roxy. We've got the best people here. So kind, so generous, and just a really supportive people who care. Love my peoples. Okay. Um, I was thinking about something Chris said, and he was speaking about asking the police. That's okay, half point. That's okay, love. Honey, you've been dealing. That's okay, half point. You're fine. Um, I'll try to find it when we get this playing. Um, but Chris, he was speaking. He said he spoke to police and he was asking them. He said, "Well, I look different without them pearls." um, he was speaking. Said he was speaking to police, and he was like, can you do fingerprints from the door? And he said something to the effect of no. And he's like, we've tried everything. We've tried everything. And then it's like, and then we're just stalled or something like that. But anyway, the main thing is he was speaking about fingerprinting the door. There's been a lot of talk about forensics and all of that. Well, I was kind of thinking about that. And, at first, Chris and Katie said that, I don't know why he walked out that door. Thank you, Nicole. Appreciate you being here. Thank you, Girl Rusty. Um, so, and they've always said that Sebastian walked out. But then, when the opportunity, in my opinion, suits them, they'll be like, well, you know, why talk about the fingerprints whenever you're saying no one came up to the door or they would have been spotted, right? Yeah, we've tried everything while they take off to the campground. Yep. But it's obvious nobody, went to that house. Even Chris himself said it would have been on camera if anyone would have walked up to that door. So we know that. We have no evidence that he walked out of the door either. I mean, if you see someone walking up to the door, you should see someone walking out of the door. Logic, right? But then, it kind of got me thinking, if law enforcement in my opinion, if enforcement thought for any reason that this child was abducted, thank you, Ann Lids. If they thought he was abducted, they would have done fingerprints on the door. They would have been doing fingerprints everywhere, right? Around something, around the doors, around areas, windows, all of that. They would have been looking for fingerprints. So, in my opinion, they've never been looking for anyone outside of the house. Sweet Crazy, no, I don't think that they did because Chris said that they didn't. So, Chris said that they didn't. Um, I mean, there was no caution tape or anything around there. There was nothing of all that. Yeah, Mohawk. If they thought someone came there to take this child, can police get our cloud information? Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yep. Yep. Now, and with like cloud information and stuff, police get the warrant and they submit it to the company, whether it's Apple's a little harder. It's a lot harder actually to deal with. Android is not as hard, but it can take days, weeks, months to get all of that stuff back. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. In my opinion, it was never they thought someone abducted this child at all. They weren't looking for anybody, right? They never said, or at least in my opinion, they never said, look out for this car, right? If you was in this area between such and such hours, right? And you seen this, let us know. Let us know. So, in my opinion, that leaves us with two things. Two things. One, this child walked out by himself. Two, he didn't walk out at all. And he was taken out. Mary Smith, I agree. I think when a child goes missing, I think there needs to be legislation passed for this. When a child goes missing, regardless, there needs to be double barrel investigation. One, with what the parents are saying that happened. Two, that house, out, everyone. This could now be a crime scene. Yep, exactly, Mohawk. Camera picked up people taking out the trash, but nothing else. I think If that would have happened in Summer Wells' case, in Sebastian Rogers' case, things, it's easier to grab a hold of things within the first 48 hours. Yes, Bonnie's journey. Exactly. That's exactly what we're saying. There needs to be a two-pronged, double barrel, whatever you want to say, investigation, right? It is a crime until it's not. That's the way you need to go into. And I believe, you know, innocent parents, they understand. And it's not about like treating them like criminals or anything like that in the beginning. It's just that we've got to do an investigation and we need to, whatever you say happened, okay, we're looking at that equally. But we are also, nobody's going back in this house right now. So, anywho, just wanted to say that. So, make sure you are subbed up to the witness box. Holly, me too. I hope something comes out of it. Link is provided in the description. You can now find it on the lab, our friend Josh, and of course, Chris McDonough from the interview room, and of course, brilliant Dr. Gary as well. We're going to play some different parts of this. Dr. Gary, when this kicks off, he says something so brilliant. He quotes something. And it just summarizes, in my opinion, the Sebastian Rogers case, the Summer Wells case, and a lot of cases, actually. You'll have to, I'm sorry, guys, you'll have to put up with me a little bit more today with my buttons and stuff like that because I don't know where I'm supposed to start.
Who might have been beginning to escalate or showing signs more, because autism is a development.
Can y'all hear that? Could y'all hear that? Thank you, Barbara. Yes, Marlena was one that she's like, you need to do this. Okay, you can hear that. Okay. All right. Let me see where I can find it.
Nowhere to be found. Serious disappearance of 15-year-old Sebastian Rogers went missing from his home in Hendersonville somewhere between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. February of this year.
Okay, can you hear it? It's good now? Okay, perfect. All right.
Was last seen at a Roadhouse restaurant. Basically, from there, nobody has seen nor heard from him besides his mother, who claims that she was at home with him at, I believe, 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. She tells him to go to bed. She hears what she describes as sort of a thud, tells him to go, knock off what you're doing and go to sleep. And then wakes up in the morning, 6 a.m. for school, and he's nowhere to be found. No signs of forced entry, no windows open, no garage open, nothing. Now, a lot of people have a lot of theories about the case, but nothing really tangible. Law enforcement has mums the word either because they have nothing or they don't want to say what they have. Either is an option. But
And the boy, just for the uninitiated that are listening, the boy was on the spectrum.
he was, and the thing with that too is that he was just really recently diagnosed within like the last year or two, and but yes, he was on the spectrum. He was on medicine, supposed to be on medicine, and it's I think we're going on 6 months now of him missing, and there's just been some behavior, or I wouldn't even say just behavior, but there's a cloud of suspicion around the case. There's been no sign of him whatsoever, none.
No sign of him since when? Really, since the time he walked back in the house, allegedly walked back in the house from the trash, right? From the trash. Yep, Lady D. Some may even say from the time he left the steakhouse, right? The steakhouse. Thank you, my dear. Hope you're feeling better. Hope you're feeling better, my dear. Since then. And Chris is going to mention here momentarily about the medication that Sebastian took.
Not a video, not a sighting, nothing. And which is,
Right. Well, Sherlock Holmes famously said, when you've eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the truth.
Listen to that again. Listen to that again. If you take nothing away from this live today or from this podcast, take this. Marlena put it in chat.
sure, a sighting, nothing. And which is,
Right. Well, Sherlock Holmes famously said, when you've eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the truth.
sure.
There we go. Whatever or whenever you've eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the truth. This, unless Chris and Katie's home is the Hotel California, you check in, but you don't check out, something is wrong. Something is wrong. Right? Have they eliminated that Sebastian has walked out on his own? Well, that's up for authorities. But in my opinion, there's no scent. How could a 15-year-old child not leave a scent? Come on now. How could a 15-year-old not leave a scent? Barefooted? With socks on? Either way. With shoes even. How can you not leave a scent? And in my opinion, that is why Chris pushes the scent to the pond. That is why he pushes the scent to the pond. Because nothing else makes sense. You would have to leave a scent. Nancy Grace says she will trust a dog's nose before she will anything else, even over a cop. That should say something right there. No scent, not on camera. We know Sebastian wasn't a ghost at the steakhouse. He was seen on camera there. We know that he was most likely, his shadowy figure was seen taking out the trash. I do believe he was taking out the trash. There are some people that believe he never made it home. You're welcome to believe that. I don't. I absolutely 100%, in my opinion, believe he made it to the house. Absolutely. I don't think there was enough time for Katie and Sebastian to leave that steakhouse, her to ditch him somewhere and be at her house in a few minutes. The times are perfect from her leaving that steakhouse, 15 minutes flat. Also, I believe he did take out the trash because she knows camera's going to see that. So that was a way for her to also say, look, he took out the trash. We know he sees, we've seen him on camera before. He's not, a ghost. He's a human being like you and I. No scent, not a footprint, not an article of clothing. Why would he go out when it's cold? Right? Without shoes. He's scared of the dark. He doesn't like to get dirty or muddy. And he doesn't like, loud sounds, unfamiliar things. His autism, and he has a genetic depletion. So we have all of that. So if he wasn't taken out of the house, and Chris says they would have been seen if someone went up to the door. No one came out of the windows. He couldn't have locked the back door. He was scared of the back door. Didn't go out of the garage door. And he couldn't have closed the man door. Chromosome deletion. I apologize. So what does it leave? What does that leave? It leaves someone took him out of that house. That's what it leaves, in my opinion. Every expert that has spoken about this, word analysis, profiler, whether they were former cop, cold case foundation, psychologist, anybody that I've heard. Thank you, Polka Dot. All come to one Conclusion. Sebastian did not walk out of the house himself. What happened to the Morkeys? I don't know if they still have him. They've thrown away every other animal that they've ever had. Chris wanted Sebastian out of the house. Yeah, the Morkeys were in the home that night. But where are they now? Oh, they got rid of cats. They got rid of Sebastian's 2 cats in California. Chris had like 30 snakes. Got rid of Sebastian snakes. Whenever you've eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the truth. That's very powerful. Very powerful. And it's, deduction. Let's play it again.
And I mean, a sighting, nothing. And which is,
Right. Well, Sherlock Holmes famously said, when you've eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the truth.
sure. And I
I
mean,
mean, you can't find any proof that somebody left their house. What does that leave?
that somebody left with them.
They never left the house.
Right, right.
You have to look inside the house, right? I mean, Chris, what you say from an investigative perspective, no trace whatsoever of leaving the house would lead you, obviously, to have to look in it. And Chris is nodding, I think. Silent.
100%.
Yeah, and the audience that can't tell.
Right? There's nothing to say that Sebastian left the house on his own accord. Right? There is 2 times where Sebastian could have been taken out, though. What are they? Around 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. Sorry, around 3 a.m. and 6:03 a.m. Because 6 a.m. Katie leaves. 6:03 a.m. Katie leaves. And 3 a.m. there is flashlights, a vehicle coming from the very area from behind the home where they live. I vote 3 a.m. too. I would pretty much just about believe it would be 3 a.m. Justin, wouldn't he have left a scent if it would have taken him that took out the trash? Do you remember how fast Merv's parents were able to transfer him into another car before cops pulled them over? I don't actually, but yes. Now, people say in this case that they have no scent of Sebastian, like, at all. They have no scent leading anywhere. We don't know if there's a scent to the garbage or not. I mean, I have no idea. Now Chris said that his scent was in there. In the yard. I don't know. Um, I don't know about that. What did Lisa say? I feel like something happened after the poker night on Friday. I don't. I personally don't. I mean, something may have happened as like, you know, if that, took place and everything, something could have triggered one of the adults. And Sunday night could have, boiled over, could have been irritated with
But I
Sebastian.
think there's a couple of things I think, as somebody that I think is going to take more of a, I want to take kind of a listening role in this case. I'm very interested, and I love your thoughts when you two talk about this case. But I will say two things. One is I have extensively worked with people on the spectrum in my career, and there are depending upon how severe the person is in terms of placement along that spectrum, there can be things like rigidity of behavior where you don't really expect somebody to do things that are too out of pattern, right? Stereotyped interests, temper tantrums, and meltdowns that can be very difficult to manage. Sensory experiences like being highly sensitive to noises. All kinds of things that can be very difficult from a parenting point of view. That can be very difficult in the home. And if you have somebody who was sort of recently diagnosed, you then start wondering about somebody who might have been beginning to escalate or showing signs more, because autism is a developmental condition that would go back all the way to earlier in life, but it gets diagnosed now. That would imply something is intensifying or getting noticed for the first time when somebody's leaving the home and interacting with other children or things like that, and they start seeming odd, as they're getting older, or something is making it obvious. So that's very important. I can't help but think that change in status and how somebody might be interacting with the family could be something that, in some vague way I can't put my finger on, figures into this story somehow. And the second thing that I think is important to say is, I don't know what you guys are going to say, and Chris, I'm especially interested from a law enforcement perspective. But to me, it seems that you wind up with these kind of buckets in terms of possibilities here, and we have to weigh all of them agnostically, right? But the buckets seem to be like a lot of autistic children who go missing. He wandered out, right? And then you usually find the child very quickly. Josh, you and I have talked about cases like this where an autistic child wanders off and then they're found, they've fallen into the water, they've gotten lost in the forest,
Yep.
they're cold, they're hungry, something happens to them, an animal gets to them, whatever, some horrible thing. There are also cases, I think, in bucket two, where there's either an abduction from the home, but usually for sexual purposes, unfortunately, or the child has wandered out and then been taken by an offender who opportunistically does so. And the third possibility, which the Sherlockian dictum points us to, is that there's some internal thing with a potentially, and we can't really cast aspersions here, but I guess that if it was something internal, then we would have to suggest that maybe there was some cover story to conceal that. Is there anything other than those three possibilities that would be on the table here from those seem to be keys, right?
Yeah, no, and I think the most important piece to talk about
Yeah.
is the fact that those possibilities that you've just kind of related there,
Right.
with the exclusion of the house problem.
All right, so let's stop it there because we're gonna get to the medicine. He's gonna speak about the medication and stuff here shortly. Guys, do me a favor if you haven't yet already, please hit that thumbs up button. Would be greatly, greatly appreciated. Thank you all so much. Is stating that they were looking at things a second time since FBI has already. Oh, good, good. Good, Thomas. Very good. Um, where are we at, mods? One thumbs up. All right. Thank you so much, Tina. Thank you, my dear. Really appreciate it. Would like to share something interesting, but if you are going through the entire video, I won't interrupt. I mean, yeah, you can share something. Yeah, share it. I mean, I'm not going to go through like the entire video, but share it. So usually, actually, if a child is out there, right? If a child is out there, they're going to be found. They will eventually be found. It doesn't matter if an animal takes them, if they've wandered, in a pond, they're going to be found just about every single time. That's just the way it is. I mean, maybe if they fell like in a I can't think of really of a situation like a unexplored cave maybe or something, but that they're really going to be found, and usually very, very quickly. She should say. I don't know what that means, Rock and Rhonda. I'm sorry. Um, I want to know why, because a lot of time has passed pussyfooting around. Yeah. Chris had made an excellent point. He said if he was leading this investigation, the first thing he would do is interview the four. Yep. Yes. I believe. I'll tell you something. I believe even if the bio mother did this, even if she did this, I still believe it probably wouldn't have happened because if she hadn't have been with him. I really believe that. I mean, even if she is 100% responsible, allegedly, even if she is. I'm not saying that. I'll never say that. It's not up for me to decide. I'm just telling you suspicion. Whether I don't think this would have happened otherwise. I think relationships and just about anything around CP is disposable. It has been the way he's been for his entire life, right? Any relationship, any animal. It shows just by the animals alone, right? Most of us get an animal, they're a family member, right? You may have to, circumstances may have to rehome or something, but this is an extraordinary pattern. The multiple dogs, the cats, everything. And when it irritates CP, his little cocoon, Mohawk Bingo Golden Child, she's his favorite. Learn that too. You're spot on, my friend. When it bothers his little cocoon, out with it. So what? I married you. Right? That's who he is. That's who he is. It's a character flaw. It's probably nothing that he will ever do to fix it. It is who he is. It is set in stone by his age. No, T-Dub, no.
Right.
Majority of those children, if not all of them, at some point are found.
Yes, or very close to the home are found
Right.
not well, not
Right.
because they can't get very far.
Right. And if it's a water situation, they're found in the water. If it's a
The majority are found, right? Whether it is, again, something people's like, when the Summer Wells case, they're like, I think an animal took her. I guarantee you an animal did not take that child. Guarantee you that an animal did not take the child. An animal did not take Summer Wells. A human animal did, in my opinion, that lived with her. But what did Chris and Dr. Gary just say? They are almost always found, right? They're not found very far away, right? Especially barefoot. Barefoot, yeah. Dropping the pearl, she is. She is. No. When an animal takes a child, first of all, it's not quiet, right? And it's not clean, right? And let me tell you something. If anyone is ever missing or unalived, almost overwhelming majority of the time, it is by someone you know inside of your home or knows you, is in your bubble, right? If it's the gardener, right? Your cleaning maid, your husband, your wife, a family member, right? Because there's usually, it takes really a special kind of person to just go unalive someone they don't know, right? There usually has to be a form of relationship somehow, right? Because it's usually you're angry, you're mad at them, you don't like them, um, you feel like you've been cheated, lied, something. There has to be usually something that enrages you or you're going to gain out of it, right? It has to be something that makes your blood boil, or you're going to benefit, gain from, right? Life insurance, right? Money is a big factor for gaining, right? But just a person going up and unaliving just to see someone be unalived, that's a whole different type of character we're looking at. We're not going back to prison. Yes, that's one, Lily. But it's it's a gain that you're like, I'm not going back. But generally it's someone around you, right? All right. Yeah, that would be more of a serial.
a, a walk away. They're typically found, within.
Oops. Thank you so much, Lakeside Lawyer. Good to see you, honey. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate you, my dear. All right.
And right,
Are found not well, not
Right.
because they can't get very far.
right. And if it's a water situation, they're found in the water. If it's a, a walk away, they're typically found, within a geographic regional, environment.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, I think the biggest elephant in the living room on this one is this young man was on medication. And the investigators have to take that into consideration, or quite frankly, they're not doing what is common sense. I mean, if you look at the big picture here, to have such a high level of, experience
Yeah.
when guys like us, that only work, hundreds and hundreds of dead people, and I have walked my Jack Russell though and talked to him while doing it. However, I always look forward to the expert opinion. That said, one of the things that I think is obvious here from an investigative analysis aspect is if the father, the stepdad, or the biological dad, let's take him into consideration here for a moment. If you look at the big picture of the victim risk continuum, which I was talking about, you look at environment, situation, circumstance, low, medium, high. Okay. This has all the indications of a very low risk situation, evident the fact that, 10 at night to 6 in the morning. And it reminds me of when I consulted on the Elizabeth Smart case.
So, Bite Me Ray, I'm so sorry to hear for your loss. Really sorry. What is it? Oh, thank you, Emma. Thank you so much, my dear. It's very good. Now, I've never been a police officer or anything, but I have worked at a funeral home, a couple funeral homes, and I've seen a lot of unalived people who were unalived by people. And it is usually someone close, that is for sure. Seth needs to be cleared. He's not going to be. TBI will not clear people. They will not clear people. They just don't do it. That's how Tennessee works. TBI is so frustrating. Out of any place I have dealt with, throughout the country, Tennessee, man, boy, it's difficult. But talking about low medium, and high risk. Sebastian is at a low risk victimology, very low risk victimology. He doesn't live any sort of, um, wild lifestyle, anything like that. So he's a very low victimology. Um, but just because you're at a low victimology doesn't mean, something bad's not going to happen. It just means you're at a lower victimology. So, yeah. Thank you, Beverly.
Oh,
where the investigators were focusing outside of the house on Ricky, and we kept telling them, no, you need to keep focusing inside the house. Somebody somewhere has crossed paths with that residence.
So, speaking about like the low victimology, it also means you're not as likely, and I think even Sebastian would be, because of his autism, would make him, in a sense, be even at a lower risk because he is more scared of things that may be dangerous, that others may not see. He doesn't like anything loud, right? He's not the kid that wants to be outdoors, right? He doesn't want to, you know, go bike riding alone or with friends. He would be the type of kid that would play video games, right? So he's not probably going to get abducted by some stranger because he doesn't go outside and ride down the street, right? That is exactly right. Lakeside Lawyer just summed it up. He was at risk at his own home, which again, most of us are, but we also have to take into account if someone, right, was out there, right? But the parents say, or the mother says he went outside. There's nothing to indicate that he did on his own accord. A family member. There is a family member that it's a distant family member that owns it's a cousin of his. But listen, I've worked in the funeral business for a long time. It is not like you think. I think Elisa just said you just can't fire up a crematorium and do that. There is a lot that you have to do whenever you're cremated. There are logs you have to keep. That person that died from the hospital or the funeral home, or not the funeral home, or the hospice or whatever, they are weighed, right? So they are brought in, they are weighed. A crematorium is actually a pretty advanced, um, I don't know the word I'm looking for. It's an advanced system, if you will. You have to put in the weight, and it's going to tell you how long it's going to take. Um, and it's going to tell you how much gas it's going to take and all of that. And then there are two logs in when you cremate someone. You have I would have to check it. Some other person is going to have to check it. It is almost, it's really 0%. I mean, really, it's lots of documentation, lots of regulation. There's people don't even realize it, but there's regulations on even environmental factors when it comes to crematoriums, because you're cremating, and we are a lot of different gases and stuff like that. So there's even a lot of environmental factors, and that's why it's so it's a thing. Yeah, Lily, but it's just not even, it's not even probable, likely at all in this case. It's just not. So
And of course, later on, the young sister wakes up one day and she had an epiphany and says, "Oh yeah, it was the handyman. Okay, that's who it was who came in." And lo and behold, Elizabeth is out there today, thank the Lord, talking about her experiences and talking about the handyman. And that guy, Gary. I mean, he was,
Oh, yeah.
just
Brian
not.
Mitchell, I think his name was. I have some of his writings here that about 9 or 10 pages of what was apparently some kind of bizarre journal that he was keeping. I have here that I was using at the time we wrote The New Evil, and I never did anything with it, but it's pretty fascinating read.
Yeah. So
it's very bizarre. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we take that as just kind of a layover into the, Sebastian Rogers case, what are the odds of, somebody coming into the house, stealth, somehow not leaving any form of evidence in any way, shape, or form that we're aware of anyway in the public arena, and coming in and saying, "Hey, you're coming with me, kid," get him out of the house, and he's been wandering around the United States, with this coven of some sort. We know that Elizabeth was taken, obviously for sexual assault reasons, and that was his primary motivation. And so, what would be the first question, just taking into account not only the victim risk continuum, but what's the motivation here? What's the motivation of somebody, a stranger abduction, coming in and taking a 15-year-old autistic young man out of his house? Number one.
Or
what is the likelihood of that in Sebastian's case? What is the likelihood of someone coming in and taking this child? These are houses that are very close together. There are lots of cameras in this area. What's the likelihood? Right. Why him? Why Sebastian? Nada. It's almost zero that they're just going to come in. And again, it takes us back to that forensics, right? It takes us back to, Chris said, well, they didn't even do fingerprints on the door. Why do you think that is? In my opinion, it's because they never expected anybody coming in that home or going up to that home, right? Right on the corner when you get ready to enter the street, right before the house with all the boats, right across from it. There are two houses right there. They both have cameras. Anyone that goes up, I can't think of the streets right now, guys. I'm tired. They go straight or they turn onto Chris and Katie's road. Either one of those, it's going to pick up. And one of the houses is constantly recording. There's no motion. On usually surveillance around the house, that's not like a Ring doorbell. It's usually recording. You can have it record 24/7. Now the Ring doorbells, they pick up due to motion. Stafford and Kellen, thank you. Just couldn't think right now. There is nothing except there is a vehicle that goes to no particular house at 3 a.m. and 3 hours later, there's a missing child. Except there's someone coming from the common area from the area where Sebastian lives, right? And there's someone going back. So it's a little interesting, isn't it? It's a lot interesting, actually. So, in my opinion, police was never looking for, well, I can't say never, but I don't think that they were looking from pretty early on for someone. They never did fingerprints on the doors. Chris said that. He said, we asked him, can you do fingerprints on the door? Well, that's weird because, Katie, you said you don't know why he walked out the door. Now we're indicating someone may have got him. But then Chris says, why does Justin look different? Because I'm not in my studio. I'm remote bound today. That's why. So that's what that is. All right. Let's roll. Uh-oh. Okay.
Or off the street if he's seen wandering shoeless,
Right, but we got to get him out of the house, right? We got to get him out of the house first.
Right. One of the what would be the motive? Well, based on statistics, Chris and you and I both know from our respective fields that the number one best bet would be for sexual purposes.
Okay, so
I mean, wouldn't you agree?
yeah, absolutely. So now we have to ask ourselves, okay, well, what are the circumstances in relationship to who's awake, who's hearing what? And you have mom saying, well, I heard a thud. Okay. Well, what does that mean? How do we make sense of that when a parent who's looking, to say that their child evaporated from their house and in the middle of the conversation, she says, oh yeah, around this time I heard a thump or whatever it was. Josh, how did she describe it?
His mother referred to the noise as a thud.
So what does that mean? As a just being open-minded here, I guess we can all interpret that as being 100 different things.
Yeah.
Okay? But we also can interpret that into one thing, and that one thing is dangerous, or something happened where the mother describes it to the world. Something happened, a thud. Okay. You know, what they don't have evidence of is what that the thud, what that thud meant. Was it criminal in nature? Did he fall off a bed? I mean, we could go down a whole.
The thud. Can you put up a pic? Yeah, 1-800. I can do it, but I can't do it tonight, my dear, but I sure can. A thud. A thud. I believe Katie mentioned that thud for a reason. For a reason. Whether if he was found in time and they see him, they find him, or if it was a way to relieve something about the story of guilt inside of her, in my opinion, if allegedly that happened. The thud. What mother, what father, what parent, what caregiver, what human being, if you have a child or another living animal or living being in your house, when you hear a thud is a dull, loud sound. Thud. Elisa, actually, the first story Katie told the neighbor was she was going back to the kitchen and she says she heard a sound. She didn't say thud, but she heard a sound in Sebastian's room, and she said at that time, "Sebastian, are you okay?" And he said, "Yeah, Mom, go to bed." Now, it was a sound, and then on Smiley's it was just I heard him in there in the room, and I asked, "Well, what did it sound like?" And she's like, "It was just sound like he was just in there in the room." But what is this thud? Something happened. Something happened. She heard a thud. I would love to interview them. Love to. If you have children, if you have an elderly person in your home, if you live alone, right? Or if it's just you and your child, you and an elderly person, you alone, you hear a thud. Our ears hear that. Anytime we hear a sound, this side, our ears tells us to look in the direction we hear the sound, right? It's kind of our fight or flight response. We go toward the sound or we go away from the sound if we know what it is, if it's going to harm us. But in this case, when you have a child or you live alone and you want to know, I'm here alone. You know, something could be wrong. You're going to check on it, right? very possible, Anna. He could have absolutely been over medicated. He could have been overstimulated from all the things that they did that week. Someone could have snapped, but it has to be something that indicates that could get a caregiver in trouble, right? If someone falls for no reason, just, any accident that just happens, you pick up the phone and you call 911. But if for instance, they're prescribed medication, well, you give them the right dose, something happens, you're going to call 911. You have something in their system that's not supposed to be, or too much, that's a problem. Because obviously, on pretty much anyone who's young, they do an autopsy almost 100% of the time if you're young and you just suddenly go. Now, if someone hit their child, right? Now, some people agree with whipping, some people don't. I don't agree, especially with whipping. Who whips a 15-year-old, number one, but especially one that has mental or physical conditions. But let's say, for instance, someone smacked him, right? But they did it so hard that they broke a neck, or they fell to the ground, hit their head, right? That is going, people freak out and panic ensues, and that happens. I agree, Misty Moonlight. I agree.
List of 100 different categories of where that word would fit into, but it's a descriptive word of an activity. And that is problematic in a criminal investigation.
Well, here's another thing though that's problematic about the thud, Chris, is that in her first interview with the news, I believe it was the local, I don't know, KTF5 or something like that. What she said was that when she heard the thud, she didn't get up and go check on him. She just said to or knock off whatever he was doing, go to sleep. And then I think in future, I don't think I actually know, I just don't know exactly which one, that after there was an immense amount of criticism, why wouldn't you get up when you heard a thud? You have a child with special needs. She then changed it to that she did check on him. But the initial story is that she only said, knock it off, go to sleep.
So if she said then she checked on him, what did she say?
Yeah, well, she never specified. She never specified.
That's a red flag.
I would imagine so.
You see, I mean, if somebody says, yeah, I heard a gunshot and I went to check on it, then the next question from an investigator is, and this is what we're not hearing, well, what did you see? Well, blah, blah, blah. Now you just kind of overlay that into, well, I heard a thud. All right. What did you do? Well, I went and took a look. All right. What did you see? And there's a narrative behind that somewhere. And that narrative, we don't know what that is, but at some point, somebody sounds like her changed her story. All right. No problem. Summer, are you down?
Summer, are you down there? How many times have we heard the story change? How many times? Several times, right? The first neighbor that she spoke to, like literally by 8 a.m., it was probably 7:45 a.m. So within an hour and 45 minutes of finding Sebastian missing, said she fell asleep on the couch. She woke up at 11:30. She seen Sebastian's light, or the lights were still on. She pops her head in there and she says, "Go to sleep. You have school in the morning." That seems like a reasonable thing to do. How many times have you told your kids, "Got school tomorrow, turn off the lights, let's roll up, let's go to bed"? All of us have. Nothing wrong with that, right? Then she says she walks toward the her bedroom, getting ready to go to bed. That's when she hears a thud. And she says, "Sebastian, are you okay in there?" "Yeah, Mom, go to bed." Okay. So she says, "He sounds fine. Must have been nothing." And then there is, I don't know, around 10 o'clock. "Sebastian, I don't know what you're doing in there. Knock it off and go to sleep." And then there is, I forgot the other one. I can't think of it right now. Exactly. And he said, "The truth does not change." The truth does not change. The way, the thread that I thread in this, that I, from the majority of the stories that she has told, she keeps telling Sebastian, "I don't care what you're doing in there. Go to bed." Right? "Knock it off and go to sleep. I don't care what you're doing in there. Go to bed." The 11:30, she goes in his room, says, "Knock it off and go to bed." Or she just tells him to go to bed in the third story. "Hey, Misty." I don't see Misty. I just see. Hold on. Maybe I see Misty. Where's little Misty at? Type something, Misty. Um. So those things is all the stories what's the general consensus? What's the general consensus out of all of them? Go to bed. Go to bed. Go to bed. So that's the consensus. Now, what can happen? What can happen? Sebastian has been very stimulated all week. There we go, Thomas. Third story was answered backward, asked him if he fell out of bed. That's when he said, no, ma'am. There you go, Misty. There you go. Okay. I was worried about you. Asking if he fell out of bed. No, ma'am. Again, there's a thud. Now, but for me, the way I see it, make sure it's on all chat. Make sure your messages is always on all chat. People forget to do that because YouTube will filter out some messages that it may seem a little, especially if you don't dress up your words, it'll filter them. So, but the general consistency is go to bed, go to bed, go to bed, go to bed, go to bed. He's got a lot, there's a lot going on that weekend. Maybe Katie and Chris are fighting. Maybe Katie and Chris are fighting. Hey, Josh. Right? She's extra stressed. Maybe she goes in there. Sebastian. What do they always say? Sebastian is bad about getting up in your face. Sebastian is bad about getting up in your face. He's getting 15. Right? Getting up in your face. That may not go so good if it's late, lots going on, all of that. Hold on. Cricket Day, we speculate here on things that we have heard that could or may have happened. So we do speculate here, and we're okay with that. You're welcome to join us, though, if you want. And if not, that's fine, too. Candy, thank you so very much for 7 months. Really do appreciate you, my friend. Thank you, my dear. Thank you, my love. Just has no sense of he has no personal space, but they also said, yes, they said with personal, like, friends and stuff too, but they said Josh only said one thing, but he would also, like, get up in your face and growl. Right.
Down there? Okay. I went down there. Okay. Well, I don't remember if the door was open or locked. Okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, like you said there too, another thing is that when she first found out that he was missing, another red flag.
Elisa, very good point. Very good point. He had some like water, I call it, just a water pocket, it didn't hurt him or anything like that. But if there was an incident, right, just knowing that he had that, and Sebastian used to have seizures, right? He used to have seizures, hadn't had seizures in quite a while, right? But regardless, you knew he had this pocket of, in his head. You wouldn't check on him? You're not going to check on him? Yeah, Jen, people with accidents that, like I say, there's accidents, you fall down the stairs. People, I mean, look at the sheriff. He fell on a conference step or something at a conference, right? I mean, people die, right? But for instance, like I said earlier, he takes medicine, that's fine. If there was an accident with medicine, fine. You give them too much, it's going to be an autopsy, right? If, for instance, you smacked him, you didn't intend to unalive him, but you did it too hard, broke a neck, right? Or he fell on the floor, hit his head. That's when it becomes, well, it's wasn't premeditated or anything, but an accident happened and it was an unintended accident, but it's at the hand of you. Why didn't Seth search the house when he was there? What do you mean? He was there for 3 days. He was there for 3 days after
Flag
Sebastian
would
was
be
there.
that she called the stepfather, Chris Proudfoot, who was allegedly 3.5 hours away at work in Memphis on a job site. And nobody knows if that's verified or not. But look, let's just take him at his word, say that, okay. But nobody ever called 911. They circumvented 911 somehow and decided to call the local sheriff's department. And you know, Candace as well wasn't the one to call 911. It was Dawn from from a different somewhere. He was in Sullivan County or something like that, and um, it was. But there's never just like in a lot of these stories, like you said, the door was open or wasn't open. There was a thud. There wasn't a thud. Nothing's ever straightforward. There's never any yeah, I called 911 immediately. The father, Seth Rogers, wasn't even notified by the mother. She didn't call the father who they split custody with. She didn't call the father to say, "Have you seen Sebastian anywhere?" That's not what happened, which to me is a red flag as well, but I don't want to get too far ahead. But yeah,
No, those are solid points. And so she calls, who do they call? What time is the sheriff's department notified?
I believe it was around 6:30 in the morning.
Okay, so 30 minutes
Something around that.
hypothetically,
Yeah.
if the report is, yeah, I went in and I looked for him, he wasn't there at 6 a.m. Around 6:30, when does she call Chris?
She says after a few minutes of searching the house, then she calls.
It was actually 3 minutes of searching. She woke him up at 6 a.m. every morning, she said, and at 6:03, she's calling. So she is searching the house 3 minutes. If you were searching the house, how long you would search it? How long would you search it for? You're going to go through that house. Yeah, 3 minutes, she said, 1 minute flat in another interview. Yeah, which is even faster. So vigil coming up is held in a new community. I don't know anything about a vigil. We're not speaking about a vigil. So within, 10 minutes, you're going to go through that house. Well, then Cricket, make a channel and find him. I mean, if you can do, like, listen, it's easy to sit there on a keyboard and be like, nobody's doing this, nobody's doing that, you're terrible, you're this, then do it. Fill the gap. Fill the gap. There's plenty of room for everybody. Fill the gap. Yes, it's always pointing fingers at Chris and Katie because guess what? He didn't leave the house by himself. There's no evidence of that. That's why. There is evidence of human beings coming from the common area and running back. That's what it is. I mean, you don't get a better alibi than being in a jail with a bunch of other cops and a bunch of other prisoners, and you so I mean, listen, I mean, just like sitting there typing, just Seth this, Seth that, Seth. Listen, I don't agree with everything Seth has said and done, but listen, I know the man's innocent, and I know he loves his son, and I know he was at work, and I know he couldn't have. I mean, it's hard to, like, you know, kidnap a kid while you're literally behind bars. So, I mean, you don't have to like him. Nobody's asking you to like him. You can despise him, you can despise me. That's fine. That's fine. Listen, I don't know anything about a vigil. I'm not here for a vigil. I'm not here for a vigil. So I don't know what you're even speaking about right now. If there's a vigil going on, call the vigil committee. Whoever, I mean, ask the city of Hendersonville about their permits, do whatever you need to do. I mean, that's fine. I mean, I don't know what you're wanting. I mean, I can't fill that for you. I don't know what you're even speaking about. So, we try to be a little bit positive in here, and we do speculate based upon things we've heard, and we do deductive reasoning. So, oh no, I haven't shown Sebastian's missing flyers. I gave out 1,000 missing flyers, 1,000 missing flyers in Pigeon Forge. That's what I did. 1,000. Trust me. But I'm not here for that. I'm not here for that. I didn't do a live stream or anything. I did a couple pictures and stuff, but yeah. But there's that.
Chris, who then I believe Chris is the one that calls law enforcement, but it wasn't 911. And, a lot of people,
He calls the non-emergency line,
called the non-emergency line, correct?
which is recorded, by the way. So hopefully he knows that.
Who knows what he knows, but
Which is recorded, by the way. You know what I think he did? I think he called one of his cop buddies. That's what I think he did. That's what I think he did. I think he called one of his cop buddies, and then they probably was like, dude, how about call 911, have your wife call 911? And he called maybe, I don't know.
But
Oh, it's recorded.
yeah, no, I would agree. But yeah, you would think that that would be a 911 kind of phone call.
Well, yeah, well, or if you're trying to avoid the recorded line, maybe you're thinking, if you're not the sharpest tool in the shed, I'll just call the police department, not emergency line, and that's not recorded. Well, here's a zinger for everybody. Every line in every police department is recorded.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
So whatever that conversation is, it's sitting there.
Can you walk us through what you're thinking right now?
I just want my baby to be okay. I don't know where he's at.
He's going to walk through that door, and this street will be flooded again with family and relatives all waiting to hug and love him. And
Stepdad Chris says it's been an emotional roller coaster that all started Sunday night, February 25th.
Pretty normal. He was playing in his room. When I told him to go to bed, he did. He said, "Good night, Mom. I love you."
Katie says she went to wake up Sebastian around 6 a.m. Monday for school, and he was gone. Within minutes, Katie says she was on the phone with Chris, who was working out of town, and they quickly called 911.
And he's not a runner. He's never run away before.
He's not a runner because he's not a runner. He doesn't like the outdoors, right? Again, that goes back into the of, is he a high risk victimology? Is he a high risk victimology? He doesn't go outside. He's kind of shy, doesn't like loud sounds, right? Scared of the dark. So he's not a runner, but he ran away, they're saying. Oh, Cat, honey, I'm not worried about anything. That's okay, baby doll. That's fine. Thank you so much. I'm too honest for this. Thank you so much for becoming a member, my dear. I really appreciate you. Thank you, my love. Thank you, my dear. Really appreciate your support. Thank you very much. My dear truth story. Love you to pieces. My Justin, have we considered the possible scenario that Sebastian was overstimulated? He was just speaking about that. He could not sleep. He was disciplined and hit, somehow resulting in Sebastian having seizure. Now, I didn't think about, oh, wow, you just made sparks go off in my head because I'm going to have to go back and look at something. My opinion, that would cause KPNC. Thank you, True Sleuth, for that. Very generous. Thank you so much. You know what, True Sleuth? I'm going to have to go back and look at something. Wow. You may be onto something. Perhaps. Wow. Thank you for that, my dear. Lady T, thank you so much, my dear. Appreciate it for gifting that membership. If you received that membership, please thank our beloved Lady T. Thank you so much, Lady T. Thank you for your support. Truth Sleuth, my dear. Appreciate you so much, as always. And Lady T, thank you so much. Very, very sweet of you. That is something. Oh, Emma, God bless you, honey. Get some rest. It's already 1:18 here. So when Chris revealed that he and mom, had been on the phone from 9:33 or 9:36, he prefaced that with to be. Yes, Jenny. Yes. Yes, Jenny. This was his first interview, right? First interview. He said, what did he say? To make this crystal clear, Mom and I were on the phone from 9:33 or 9:36, right? The phone call was very lengthy, right? That's what he starts with. First interview. Nobody was really even doubting them then. That was just the first interview. That was 7 days in. I noticed that myself. That's a very good comment, Jenny, because it's like, why are we, you know, for, hey, Lafayette, good to see you, honey. The phone call was very lengthy. Nobody was even really looking at, it was very, very, it hadn't really gotten crazy yet or anything. And that was the first time they did an interview. And it's like, why are you going to make everything crystal clear? And he said, no, it wasn't just crystal clear. It was, what did he say? To make this crystal clear. How did he say it? Yeah. Yeah, it was Sandy. That way there's no confusion across the board. But it was something else. Yes, transparency. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you, Miss Priss. Yes, to make this crystal clear and to make sure that there is transparency across the board. You start saying transparency, the first interview, you expect nothing less. When you start using that verbiage, that shows in many times deception. When someone says, to be honest, right, or transparency, crystal clear, many times it's as crystal as mud.
I don't know why. I don't know why he walked out that door.
There you go.
I mean, he's a good kid.
Chris, from a law enforcement perspective, doesn't it strike you as odd that rather than saying something open-ended like, I don't know why he walked out that door or why somebody might have wanted to take him or hurt him, that the mom says here, I don't know why you walked out that door, and volunteers that? Is that an odd thing in your perspective?
Yes.
Yes. It's a sign of deception. She takes a deep breath. She exhales, closes her eyes, and then she just.
I think whenever the news interview where Katie looks at Chris, you know what I mean? I think that is, she doesn't know what to say, honestly. So she's putting the emotion up and she looks at Chris so he can start. She actually just doesn't know how to start the conversation, in my opinion.
Answers without even being asked the question about anything close to that. Why doesn't she say something to the effect of, well, I heard a thud. I thought that was weird. right? Meaning the mom.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so to answer your question, yes, absolutely. That's a red flag.
Let's listen to that again.
I don't know why. I don't know why he walked out that door.
I mean,
So, as you said, that it was just volunteered information. Nobody asked her, what do you think happened? She's saying that he walked out the door, almost as a matter of fact. I mean, wouldn't you say, Dr. Gary?
Well, I mean, I just think it's interesting because, I mean, I can't, cast any aspersions here, but I think we would all agree that when you're completely unsure of what happened, it is odd to say in a kind of declarative way, I don't know why he did X, as if you knew that. Because if you really thought that he had walked out the door, what are you doing sitting here? Run out and go looking for him. I mean, it's just, there's something about it that I find.
Right. The delivery is, talk, pause, breathe, close eyes. And then the answer is, I don't know why he walked out the door. Well, that wasn't the question.
Odd.
It's, and then he looks over at her like confirmation. And at least in the video, I mean, obviously we're recording this, so folks can't see this, but they can go back and watch it. I mean, I'm taking notes here going, okay, check. Steve Johnson and I did a deal on this. Folks can go watch that.
It was terrific. Yeah,
we break this down. But yeah, you're right. It's completely unsolicited information.
So, just the RNCP was asked if there was a camera that showed him walking out, and he refused to answer that question. But interestingly, hold on one second. One second. But interestingly, whenever later on he did an interview, and he said, plus, if somebody would have came up to the front door, they would have been seen on camera. He also refused to answer if there were cameras inside. Now, he did refuse to answer that. He did refuse that. And then Nina was like, Chris, don't you have cameras on the inside? Yeah, there was a person, Nina asked if there was a camera on the inside. But on Smiley's interview, just in our end, Smiley asked, well, basically, what if someone came up the door, up to the front door to like lure him away? And Chris is like, oh, no. They would have been seen on camera. Well, if they would have been seen on camera at the front door, going up to the front door, he would have been seen on camera walking out the door. We know that. The camera is closer to the front door than it is the driveway. It still picks up let me just say something. The camera across the street picks up their entire house from one end of the house to the driveway. It picks up the whole thing. If someone is walking up to that door and it would pick it up, they're going to pick Sebastian up walking out the door. It picked Sebastian or someone taking the trash out, and it's way closer. The camera's closer to the front door than it is all the way down to the driveway, and it picks that up. So
when the last time she hears it is he's in the house, hears a thud, and now all of a sudden she's got him at 6 o'clock in the morning or something walking out that door. How does she know that? Where did that come from? Last time she heard anything was she heard the thud.
Right. And I don't remember. I certainly watched the show you did, and I thought it was terrific. But I don't remember if that same point was raised there, but I bet it was. I'm sure you two picked it up also as peculiar.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to go back and look at it together.
I would be very surprised if not. I mean, because it really jumps out.
And I'll link those in the description as well. This interview and Steve and Chris's breakdown on the interview room.
Right. Now, I know that someone is going to be listening who says, well, you can't really assume that that's the reason that that statement was made. It could be that the notion of thinking about somebody abducting the child is so unthinkable, is so horrifying, so shocking that someone might be inclined to just say, I don't know why you walked out the door, as a kind of denial of that possibility. That's plausible, I suppose. But Chris, I think we need to take a moment and really discuss why the abduction possibility is just as improbable as the walking out the door.
Exactly.
Well, for a couple of things. One, let's use the medication as as an example. I'll go back to that concept. First of all, if the young man's on prescribed medication, then, number one, we're 5 months into this, and that medication hasn't been on board with this young person. And so now we have to jump forward and say, okay, let's hypothesize that the biological father's, he's got some kind of scheme where he's going to, abduct his own child, somehow get himself on video at work, for 12 hours. So that means he has to have somebody else do it. And then,
so when it comes to Chris, right? When it comes to, or not Chris, God, when it comes to Seth, by the time Chris, shoot, my names are all messed up. By the time Katie and Sebastian are eating their dinner, right? Yes, Jensen, we can see you. By the time Katie and Sebastian are eating their dinner, Seth is at work. Seth is at work, right? And by the time, right, Katie wakes Sebastian up, Seth is still at work. Seth is still at work. Now, let me tell you something. If Seth didn't have that alibi, he has as the best of any alibi you could possibly have, really, other than being in the hospital or being, incapacitated in a coma. That's about it. Being in a jail is as good of an alibi you can have. If he didn't have that kind of alibi, and we couldn't, people couldn't verify it, it would be a no-brainer. You would be looking at him pretty hard. But he has a locked-in alibi, literally. Well said, Mohawk. But, with Chris, we don't even know what time he was at work. People say 5:15. There have been a few private detectives or private investigators. Right, Karen. There's some people, no matter what, this is the thing, Karen. Karen's right, Justin, but these crazy trauma creators would say Seth was faking the coma and snuck out. Rather than just saying, I don't like Seth. I don't think he did anything, but I don't like him. If they would just say that, they would look, more decent, because they know he didn't do anything. Chris and Katie says he didn't do anything. They just don't like him, no matter what he does. So that's just what they are. So Seth loves his son. Absolutely loves his son. Yeah. Have you ever seen a mother, look at like Elizabeth Smart's parents. You couldn't keep them. Natalie Holloway's parents couldn't keep them. Their face from a camera, right? Constantly looking, searching, doing interviews, international interviews, looking, searching, traveling. Chris and Katie, crickets. Yeah, Katie even said Seth was at work. I mean, for God's sakes.
Then,
it's just, people just, people amaze me, I don't understand some people, really. I mean, if it would just be easier for them to say, for whatever reason, you don't like Seth. I mean, maybe some of the things he said, but some people, it's just so weird that they have just this hatred. It's bizarre.
now that he has this kid, i.e., he wants to keep him away from mom.
I mean, you would think that Seth would have, done something to his son, if to have that much hatred, but he didn't do anything. Yes, bingo, R. Taylor. Very good point. He's the only person who took a polygraph on television. Now, the other man that said name the time and place lied and did not take it.
I'm here because they're going through.
I mean, imagine lying about whether you were going to take a lie detector test. It's not a good start. Not a good start. Right? Will you take a polygraph? Name the time and place. Nancy's right here. Scheduling it right now, Mother Chicken. Seth, we're going to get you in too. Okay, cool. Chris is like, TBI said I didn't need to. In Nancy Grace's interview, TBI said I didn't need to because of my location. I was at work, ma'am. Okay, well, would you take one with us? Sure, name the time and place. Then Chris gets done with the interview and he says, oh, TBI says I can take one now. Listen, if TBI told you they didn't need one before, they're not going to do one just to appease themselves. Okay? It's not the way it works. You may fool some people, but ask any law enforcement.
You're not even.
Sorry, wrong one. Ask any law enforcement. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen.
Whatever custody battles or whatever the problem is. Well, now he has to stash the kid in a house somewhere. Wait till he's, 3 years down the line till he's 18. Okay? Not give him his medication, because hopefully the authorities have been tracking that and discovering that no, those meds have not been on board and they have not been refilled. And no, that child is not getting those prescriptions. Okay? And then at the conclusion of 3 years, when Sebastian walks out at 18 years old and says, "Hey, I'm here, I'm back," then the father, the biological father, is at risk of going to prison. Okay? So the first question you have to ask yourself is that probable? I don't know. In my book, it's really not rocket science. The answer is, for me, no. Take it off the plate. Let's focus back at the house. So now the second problem that we are discussing here is, what are they saying in the house? Okay. What is the stepdad saying? What is the biological mother saying? But then you have to say to yourself, okay, well, we don't have evidence, quote from the sheriff, of criminal activity. No problem. I've seen hundreds of cases where there's been no evidence of criminal activity. It doesn't mean criminal activity hasn't occurred. Okay. You just have to, as she said, do good old-fashioned police work, i.e. gumshoe, and you start talking and interviewing. You know who I would start with? I'd start with the other 4 wives at length of the stepdad. And I would learn his patterns of behavior.
Boom, mother chicken. How about that? How about that? Christopher! How about that? Christopher! 4 wives. Christopher! What do you think about that? Christopher! Katie! Getting in touch with the ex-wives. The ex-wives. How about that? I find it very interesting that Chris M in this video is so focused on Chris P, because remember, Chris M said he was getting... Yeah, they're all... Trust me. Yeah. How many thumbs up do we have? How many thumbs up do we have? Mods, can we check how many thumbs up we have? Come on, just the tip. Just the tip. Just the tip. CP says... Let's see. Let me tell you something. There is nobody that will tell every ratchet thing about you like your ex if you left off in bad, if it ended badly, right? Nobody. They'll let it all go, honey, is what they will do. Carmelita, thank you so very much, my dear, for gifting that. Oh, God, I was giving you the chicken. Katie! Giving you the funky chicken. Thank you so much, Carmelita. Appreciate you, my dear. 650. Come on, guys. Come on. Listen. For 10 years of good luck, hit the thumbs up for 10 years of good luck. Hit the thumbs up. You know, we all need good luck. I sometimes rewind just to hear the chicken. It's funny. It's funny just in our end. 991. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I love you too, Trishy. Hold on. How many thumbs up we got? Someone said 991. Someone said 670. It's a big difference. Want a good look into your current Ask an X. Yeah. I mean, especially if you left off in bad terms, they're going to be like, I'm on my second 10 years of good luck. Thank you, Francisco. I love you. Come on, guys. Get it up. Please. Oh, little red, honey. We have. But you know what? I bet you law enforcement has reached out. Guarantee you. Now, I bet you they've spoken to law enforcement. Now, something interesting. Chris is from the area, right? Chris is from that area. He's not from Memphis. I saw a much lower thumbs up to what everyone else said. Yeah, sometimes if you're not, here's my phone. If you're not up, sometimes it doesn't update you. Let me see here. Let me see. 692, 693. There we go. Oh, thank you, Heidi. Thank you, dearies. Appreciate you so much, Heidi. A long-time friend. You're our favorite man. Thank you, lovies. Appreciate you. Hope you're feeling better. You look cute in that pic, by the way. Very cute. Don't claim Chris either. Yeah. But so I was thinking, and someone, I can't remember who made this point, but Chris knows Hendersonville better. You're more likely, if you're familiar with an area, you're more comfortable with an area. You know locations. So it could be perhaps he could be closer to home if in fact there is foul play. Sebastian could be closer to home, his stomping grounds. Now, that's not a guarantee, but the majority of people who dispose is within 25 miles of where the scene of the crime happened. Within 25 miles, the majority. Now, but then you think of Letitia Stout. And that was across many states. Right? Now, yeah, and that's right. They could have, I mean, I don't know if they have, property in an old cabin somewhere. You just never know. But you can usually check stuff like that. But sometimes you have, it's harder to get a search warrant for something like that as well. So, all right, let's go.
Around children, around women.
Okay. That didn't last very long, did it? Around children and around women. What did Nina say how he was around children? What did he allegedly do to his own child? What did he allegedly do to his stepchildren? What did his family allegedly do to Nina? What did Katie allegedly do to Nina? Yep. Yep. Exactly. Yep. Now, there's a person I know and that Chris knows. And it's not Nina. That knows Chris and has seen him at his worst. And this person, it's a she, told me that when he is angry, it's like looking at satin. Terrifying. Can you imagine Sebastian?
Around, who came around him to pull him? It's really not rocket science. The answer is, for me, no. Take it off the plate. Let's focus back at the house. So now the second problem that we are discussing here is, what are they saying in the house? Okay. What is the stepdad saying? What is the biological mother saying? But then you have to say to yourself, okay, well, we don't have evidence, quote from the sheriff, of criminal activity. No problem. I've seen hundreds of cases where there's been no evidence of criminal activity. It doesn't mean criminal activity hasn't occurred. Okay. You just have to, as she said, do good old-fashioned police work, i.e. gumshoe, and you start talking and interviewing. You know who I would start with? I'd start with the other 4 wives at length of the stepdad. And I would learn his patterns of behavior around children, around women, around, who came around him to pull him out of the dungeon when he went through 4 previous other divorces. As an investigator, I would start pulling all that divorce paperwork and interviewing all the ex-wives. Not only that, I'd start looking up his social profiles. How did he meet these women? Where did they meet? What were their dates like? What did they talk about? How aggressive or non-aggressive was he? And then I would look at patterns of behavior if going through 4 divorces. Well, who stood by him during those 4 divorces? Was it his family? Was it his mom? And if it's his mom, that's into, you know that, Gary, I mean, from a behavioral analysis aspect. Okay. If mommy's always cleaning up his junk and his destruction, i.e., when he lights a fire and runs from it and she comes and stomps it out, you've got to look at now those secondary circles within the inner circle. Is there something going on between the family as a whole? And that's where you shift and you say, okay, well, are they hiding him? Meaning the mom, the biological mother from the biological dad. Is that a possibility? What's going on there? And if so, how could that have unfolded? And if again, the simple process in that is where are they getting the medications for the boy? If they're hiding him out somewhere. Okay. Because now if you go to a stranger, i.e. he walked out of the house and he ran into a stranger, well, the stranger doesn't know he needs medication. He's not going to care. And that exam or that challenge of life becomes less and less. And go ahead.
Well, whenever there's now remember, this is all hypothesis, right? Because we're saying that if we feel that the wandering out of the house or the abduction hypotheses don't seem to have much support, and then we're thinking about something inside the house, then we start thinking, when you're dealing with something like a domestic issue, let's say perhaps even a domestic homicide, right? Well, first of all, that this term that I coined, elimination murder, right, is the first thing I always think of in a domestic situation. I say, is there someone who stood to gain by somebody being disappeared? Did somebody gain financially? Was the person an impediment to a romance or a new relationship? Were they, a burden in some way, etc.? And if you take the elimination thing off the table, what's left? Well, emotion, sheer emotion that erupts, right? And if it's sheer emotion that erupts, well, then, Chris, in the kind of background check you're talking about, I think you're 100% right in that what you'd be looking for would be signs of explosive rage.
Exactly.
Somebody who in an explosive rage does something to someone, and then other people who are scared of them help cover that up or whatever. I think that's what you're suggesting needs to be flushed out.
Right. And if you...
That's a hypothesis, and I assume it is being flushed out. If
someone being scared of someone being scared of someone, I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it. I go back to, would Chris help? And you think he's so arrogant and self-gratifying that he wouldn't. But then you don't know. You really don't know. Would Chris, scared to someone covering for him, say his alibi? I don't know. See, I don't think Kate would. I don't know. I don't know.
Because I can't imagine law enforcement doesn't think about it the way that we are.
Well, yeah, no, I would assure you they're thinking this way.
Right, about all possibilities. Right.
Right.
And regarding the abduction, see, this is the thing. I mean, Chris, you and I,
I think she would. I think they would do it just for the bounds of not getting in trouble and for okay, well, truth. It's a hard one. Sometimes I wonder, and again, I have no evidence of this, but I will say someone was telling me that law enforcement took all day of Sunday. They took all day of Sunday, like Sunday morning, afternoon, evening, night, going into Monday, right? Till after a little after 6 a.m. Sometimes I wonder if CP wasn't home. Sunday. Not his truck. Was he picked up? You wouldn't know. If he was picked up, parked over next to the pond, you wouldn't know, right? Could this have happened 9 o'clock? But then you get into there had to be a 2-hour call. They asked for Saturday too, yes, but there had to be a 2-hour call. They're not going to tell the public that there was a 2-hour phone call and authorities hear that and there not be a phone call. They're not going to say that. There had to be a 2-hour phone call. Had to be, in my opinion. But could have something that was, when one of my mods, who is a very, 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 very good person. She has a really good memory. It's not Mohawk either. It's another mod. She was saying that she heard, like, in the very beginning, that CP was going to spend the night Sunday. And she was trying to find it. I've never been able to find it. But could it gets dark early? Could something have happened at 9 o'clock? And then did whatever? I don't know. I agree 1-800.
We do a lot of work with a lot of people that would officially be called profilers, right? And we certainly are well aware of a lot of the
Really?
techniques that they use, and I think from a profiling perspective, there are
1-800. A family member had one of those, right? One of those vehicles.
really two wide categories of these kind of sex offenders that would take a kid, right? Well, the first would be the schmoozing, psychopathic kind of savvy kind of offender who would groom a child over time. They would get to know them. They would insinuate themselves into the family. They'd be the coach. They'd be the priest. They'd be the rabbi, the imam. You know what I mean? That kind of figure, the friend. And then they attach themselves, and over time develop a relationship, and then go off with the child and offend. But the other kind, the kind that would just burst into a house at night and take a kid sleeping or something, they have to be more socially inept, more odd, peculiar people. You know what I'm saying, Chris? I mean, the kind of person that would be probably a local that opportunistically takes a kid like out of a mall when his mother's not looking, or something, or just snatches a kid in a car that's going by, And I feel like already you'd be looking at somebody who wouldn't do this only once, who probably would be a repeat offender. So the first thing you'd be thinking of is something like a weird local sex offender that would already be known to law enforcement if you were profiling the kind of person that would snatch a kid out of the house in the middle of the night, that kind of thing.
Right.
And already it's kind of hard to imagine why they'd be so stealthy and feline that they could do it without making any noise except possibly a little thud and without any trace. So we're saying a weird, psychotic-like or bizarre person who also has this incredible cat burglar-like precision that takes this 15-year-old child out of the house without making much noise and without any trace of it, and who doesn't have any local record, like this is their first time or something. I mean, in other words, when you start going through the likelihoods, it becomes more and more of a stretch. And I don't know if you would agree that from a sort of profiling perspective, it's a hard sell that's what happened. It's a hard sell.
First of all, you've got to control a 15-year-old autistic child.
Who's going to be right.
Number one. Okay. You have allegedly 10 at night to 6 in the morning to do it. You've got 8 hours. Okay. Within that 8 hours, whatever it is, you somehow have to get into that house. And by the way, when you leave, you don't forget to lock the doors.
Bingo.
Okay? And secure the windows.
Right.
And turn off the video. Make sure there's no video. Make sure there's no Ring cameras, yada, yada. Make sure.
Yeah. Take every alleged, video recorder out of the house. Lock the doors. Secure the windows. Right. All of it. How do you work for a security system company and not have a damn security system or cameras? How did you work in electrical and technical stuff in the Navy? Your home should be as advanced as, state of the art cameras and everything. It's very odd, isn't it? I think they were looking in the trash for something. It's interesting. Guys, I'm going to end it here for tonight. We will finish this tomorrow. I love you all. I appreciate you so very much. Has it ever crossed your mind that might have? I don't think so, Holly. No, that hasn't come. I mean, stranger things have happened. Oh, truthfully, I'll look at my phone here in a second. By the way, I'm sorry, forgot about that. I love you all. I've got a lot to do tomorrow. I will be back live tomorrow evening. It'll be late. It'll be earlier than it was tonight. So we will be back. I want to thank my mods, members, everyone being here. Thank you. Your time is valuable. You could have chosen to be anywhere. You chose to be here with me. I'm grateful for your time. I want to thank Chris from the interview room, Josh, of course, from the lab, and Dr. Gary. Make sure you are subbed up to the lab and listen to the witness box. They do so many good cases on there. I listen to it all the time. But people were asking me a lot to do this one. So I will see you guys tomorrow, Lord willing. Thank you guys so much for your time. Get some rest. God bless each and every single one of you. Oh, sorry. Susan B., I apologize. Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you. You hit on some critical points. Thank you, Susan B. I apologize. I didn't see that. I really apologize. You think working there would be like Fort Knox? Yeah, you would. All right, guys. Yep, that's what we say. Lord willing, and the creeks don't rise. All right, everyone, go brush your teeth if you haven't yet, and say your prayers. Okay, love you all. Good night, and God bless.